So that's a good lead in for our education panel. So I have a number of people that we've asked to speak for just a few minutes, but then answer questions. And so if those of you who I had on the education panel, Lee and Laura, so and then Lance, Mike Appio. So we have Mike Appio from De Anza right here. Thank you. Okay. And they're actually one of our co-sponsors along with, so De Anza College, Chabot College, along with the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, and Salway Tools have also helped co-sponsor this. So if you guys want to have a seat and we'll pass around, and I just asked them each to speak a few minutes, and then we'll kind of open it up for questions. And we also have Dick Herman again with 101 MFG, who's been doing a lot of work with internships and working with high schools. And really, the theme of this is kind of industry and schools working together. And what do schools need? Because as we've seen, this perception about manufacturing is one of the problems to getting people into and interested in these career pathways, which we can see can be very lucrative from high-skilled wage jobs. And so we wanted these people who have a variety of different experiences talking about it to talk a little bit about that. And I'll hand it off to Catherine Ross, who's at NIMS and Director of Accreditation.
Thank you. As he just mentioned, my name's Catherine Ross. I'm the Director of Accreditation at NIMS. That's the National Institute for Metalworking Skills. We're based out of Fairfax, Virginia, so there's a good chance that you may not have heard of us yet because it's taken a while for word to make its way across the country. But our mission is to establish and maintain a globally competitive workforce within precision machining. And that starts in the classroom. So we connect industry to the classroom. We bring industry into the classroom, basically. And we do that in two basic ways. First, we set industry standards. We work with representatives of industry from all across the country to set skills standards, so we know what a highly competent machinist looks like, what he can do. Then we bring those standards into the classroom so that students and trainees can actually earn industry-level, industry-recognized national credentials in CNC milling operations, for example. Those industry credentials are really separate from the rest that you might find out there because, first of all, we just provide the examination. We still want you as educators to do the instruction portion. This isn't an autopilot sort of arrangement. Additionally, to earn one of our certifications, an individual has to do a performance. He actually has to go to a machine and demonstrate that he is competent in the skill. He can't just take a course or a test online and say, okay, yeah, you got it. Additionally, those credentials can be used as benchmarks in an apprenticeship program, and we've been seeing that apprenticeship is becoming more and more popular, and we really support that. So these industry-level certifications sort of lay down the ladder of how the apprenticeship system could be organized. The second way that we bring industry into the classroom and really try to connect the two is by coordinating or sponsoring events throughout the country. A couple of our biggest are Skills USA. The national contest takes place every June, and we coordinate the CNC turning, CNC milling, and precision machining contests. And that's where we find the best of the best students. They've already gone through local, regional, and state contests. I see we have a couple over here, so we coordinate those. And then, as John mentioned, at the IMTS show every 2 years in Chicago, we put on a major event for students. This year it was called the NIMS Student Skills Center at IMTS, and we saw roughly 9,000 students from all over the country, though primarily the Great Lakes states, come through so we could get them excited about manufacturing. I won't take up much more time, so I'll be doing a breakout session in room A266 after lunch, and I'll be glad to share more with you about our testing certifications as well as some of these events that we've put on. Thanks.
My name is Lance Gunderson, and I am with the California Industrial and Technology Education Association. We're the oldest teacher association for industrial arts, as it once was called, in California. And I am their past president. I'm also presently their legislative liaison. I go to Sacramento and talk to legislators, and I've learned a few things that I think this group would benefit from knowing, and possibly some action steps that you could take to help improve the situation on one of the themes that I've noticed that's been in this conference, which is, of course, workforce development. Let me start with a little history lesson. For those of you who haven't been in the education system, this might be very enlightening, and for the rest of you, I still learned a few things myself when I discovered some of these things. In the 80s, in the early 80s, the state legislature adopted into law a core set of curriculum that every student should take in California. What do you think was left out of that picture? Industrial arts. Shop classes were not considered. Now, up until that time, you might recall, if you're as old as I am, and I think some of you are, almost every high school and junior high and middle school had some kind of shop program. Autos program, a metal program, a woodworking program. Almost all of them, it was generally considered part of the general education that students would take these courses. It was a skills development. It was a life skill. It was an important part of being an American. Well, that changed in the 80s, and slowly over time, this new way of thinking started to develop. That was something that was called an elective. In the 90s, we were hit again, because in the 90s, the legislature adopted measures to measure our students' performance. They took on the California exit exam, they took on No Child Left Behind. We had all these test scores that would measure performance of students in our schools. Guess what was left out of those measuring devices? Again, shop class, as I like to say, or our career technical education courses were not part of the assessment. Now we go into the 2000s, and we take one more blow that was significant. And actually, it had already started in the 90s, but it was codified in 2000, when the CSUs decided to adopt a standard that the UC system used for entrance into their university. And it's called A through G. It's basically a set of standards of the types of courses you should have under your belt to be able to apply for a university. And yes, there were no career tech ed standards. And in fact, there are some career tech ed, as it is often called, courses that will apply, but they tend to be on the artistic side, like photography. So if it's a machine shop, it doesn't apply. We've worked with the universities and tried to get them to see that the value, they have been very resistant to changing their system. The CSUs were critical. They kind of played a role that now the community colleges are playing. They at one time put out and turned out not only people for industry, but teachers for our areas. That is almost non-existent today. I can think of one university that is kind of doing that. So there's a teacher pipeline problem on top of the workforce development problem, and that's the history of how we got here. I am convinced of one thing now. We value, particularly in education, what we require, what we measure, and what we fund. Now I'll ask you this, especially for you industry people, but everyone here should think about joining if they haven't. How many people here are members of their Chamber of Commerce? This might come as a surprise to you, but the Chamber of Commerce has consistently backed an A through G style approach in our education. I would recommend you go to some of those meetings and start pounding the pavement on why aren't we having shop classes put back in our schools? We need a trained workforce. And that's often where a student gets the idea that's even a possibility. I know many of my students do. I do teach in Davis. And they get turned on to it. But even with as well-liked a teacher as I am at the school, and the kids like me and the parents like me, like many teachers across this state, and now it's infected the entire country, it's a challenge to stay in business. This is a large juggernaut. We got here through decades of not thinking about what the consequences might be. And to turn it, particularly in education, it's not like industry. Industry will get something turned when it wants to get it turned. But when it's a government agency, it just takes a lot longer. I know. And there is a bias, and we've talked about the bias, but we have to take real direct action, and I would recommend starting with your Chamber of Commerce and getting to our legislators, because if we don't require it, in times of economic distress like we are in now, what do you think they're going to cut first? Our organization has got some legislation passed recently, so there are a few bright spots. We've been working with the legislature, and some of them get it, but many of them really feel like these are dead-end jobs you're trying to prepare people for. Obviously, you and I know that is not the case, but we still need to convince them. But we have been able to pass some bills recently, one that, believe it or not, it will allow a student who has taken a career tech ed class in high school to have that count for their graduation. That happened a few years ago, just a couple years ago. That was not the case prior to that. The governor just signed another bill that I think is probably a positive direction, but will take some pushing to get it to continue in that direction, which will no longer evaluate schools in California solely based on their API scores, which was really a test. Only 60% now of test scores can evaluate whether a school is performing well. Other factors will have to come into play. Now, one of those could be, how many shop classes do you have? But that's not the rhetoric I'm hearing yet. So it might be something we could help them to see the value of. You should understand, too, that the workforce development that we have a problem with, and I'll leave it with this one, we don't have nearly the programs we once had in this state. We're probably down to about 10%, maybe less. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dan Sunya, and I'm here to talk about apprenticeship. And actually, just to give you a little bit of background about me, I retired from the federal government as a civil servant, and through a series of base closures, ended up teaching an apprenticeship program, and then eventually into high school. So I'm a high school teacher, teach manufacturing technology at Petaluma High School in Petaluma, and also at the same site operate a machinist apprenticeship program. Like I said, I did go through a 4-year apprenticeship. How many people here went through an apprenticeship program, machinist apprenticeship program? Awesome. Okay. Very good. Very good. So apprenticeship is alive in California, but in looking at the number of apprenticeship programs there's 4 formal apprenticeship programs in this state. 4. And I doubt that there's 200 or 300 apprentices in all those 4 programs. I did a quick Google search for machinist job openings in California yesterday. Came up with 36 pages of job openings that are out there today, from the entry level to the most senior advanced people that can run that $1 million gear cutting machine that John talked about. So to become a machinist, I should mention too that our machinist program is a 4-year formal apprenticeship program that is accredited by the state of California, the U.S. Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeship, and we put each one of our apprentices through 4 NIMS credentials, okay? And my Petaluma High School is NIMS accredited, the only high school that's accredited in California right now currently, and I'm waiting to say I was the first, but I want more. at any rate, we're after 4 years of related and supplemental instruction that we provide one night a week during the school year, and 8,000 hours of documented on-the-job training. Then they are certified as journeyman machinists. Over the last 10 years, our organization, the CTMAA, we were originally part of the NTMA, but then created our own organization several years ago. We've graduated over 100 journeymen in the North Bay area. Our area of responsibility in apprentice training in California is the 5 North Bay counties. Recently, in working with the NTMA, National Tooling and Machine Association, they have requested that we look at in taking over the 9 Bay Area counties for apprenticeship training. And we're really looking at that hard. We're having discussions with Laney. We're having discussions with De Anza College. We're going to have discussions with Chabot College, and we'd like to start doing doing apprenticeship training in these facilities that are world-class and outstanding. To become an apprentice, you must be employed in a machine shop. The employer is sponsoring the apprentice into the program. The employer is investing in the next generation. The employer is paying the way for these students to go to school. I consider this post-secondary education. And if we get it hooked into the community college system, they'll be earning college credits as well. Currently, our program is not. But the manufacturing industry. I get in a lot of shops, a lot of machine shops. Talk to a lot of shop owners, senior supervisors, managers, and you know, I ask them, how do you train your people? Well, it's just kind of like on the job. You get somebody in there, and they, sweeping the floor and whatever, and deburring, and next thing you know, if they have the skills, that they move up. But there's to invest in the next generation. We've heard a lot of discussion about that today. Where is that next generation coming from? We need to invest in that. And an apprenticeship is a very good, positive way to do it. We talked about advanced manufacturing. We talked just all kinds of different things. I particularly enjoyed Sandvik's discussion here a little bit ago about the need for a manufacturing makeover. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off topic here. But anyway, we're really about developing that next generation of skilled worker, and look forward to growing our organization, the California Tooling and Machining Apprenticeship Association, CTMAA. If you look at Mr. Herman's website, 101fg.com, you'll see our logo on there. You can also look at www.calmachinist.com for further details about the apprenticeship program. So thank you very much, and it's a great turnout today, and glad to see everybody here. And by the way, we are an HTEC, and very proud of it. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Mike Appio. I'm from De Anza College. I'm the department head and a graduate of the program. I'm going to briefly just kind of add on to what you've heard here already as far as what I see from a ground level from a community college area, where I see it's going, and I think where we need to be with the help of industry, our partners, to complete the full circle of the administration, the college, industry, to make it one complete link where we can get these young people, young and old, that are in our school, medium, to a place where we can make them, where they're employable, where we provide them with skills, and where they can move on to a viable career. Little up here, it'll show us a little bit about our website, so you get an idea of what our program's about. I'm going to speak mostly about our program. There is no, at our program right now, you hear these up and down, doom and gloom and everything. The program is going quite well. At this time, we're on the quarter system. At this time, we probably have enrollment through our manufacturing program, roughly 8 to 10 classes a quarter. We have about 1,160 people. That's a duplicated number. Unduplicated is 562 that go through our program a year. It's to a point now where 16% of them actually have bachelor's degrees. Okay. Where 16% of them have bachelor's degrees. The goal of our program here is that basis is machining, but there are many, many aspects of machining, quality engineers, planners, purchasers, entrepreneurs that go through our program. On top of that, every student that comes in the program, there's not a reason why, if they haven't already, cannot go to a four-year college, is what we stress. How we got to this point, and hopefully what you can see up here is you see the shop. There is the whole, what you see at the dirty shop is gone. This is, our goal is advanced manufacturing, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. The shop here has been since 1967. We became a HTEC 2002, and thanks to Haas, as you could see as we're going through there, you could see a lot of technology, a lot of students, a lot of hands-on that we provide a skill. We offer courses, Mastercam, T, beginning machining. But where I think the need is of the future here is where we're going to go with our industry partners is what we consider advanced manufacturing. I think Dick spoke of it a little earlier. You saw it on the Sandvik slide. You saw multi-axis machines. You saw CAM systems that'll be unbelievable what they can do. And that's where the future is. And that's where we're going to lean on most of our industry partners to partner with us and be able to have students learn a skill to where they can get some of these jobs of the future, which are so important. I think one of the other areas that's incredibly important is as Dan spoke about, would be the apprenticeships, internships, things of that nature. I can provide the skill. I can provide everything they knew, all the tools to get into the workforce. Where I think our gap is, and this just happened many times last week with people coming in from shops, is they come to us, they talk about career pathways, but there seems to be a little gap now of how do we get there? What's the link in between? Experience and skills are not the same. So our job, where I'm at now, is get to a point where we can work, whether it's an internship, Dan mentioned, an apprenticeship. I have students that ask me, can I go to a shop for a week and watch whatever, or do an internship for free of that nature? So that is how much some of these people want to do this. But I do see the future very viable in our area. There is no lack of students. Once again, going back to it, these courses we have at De Anza at this time, we had 8 to 10 of them, and 5 of them had waiting lists of 15 or higher in the program right now. So as far as people want to be in this business, extremely viable. Once again, I think just finishing off is we need to, along with our partners, is to close the gap so we can get them into, and that we need their help, is to get them into these shops, to get them some experience. I talk to students, and it's a matter of just, can I just be in a shop? Can I sweep the floor? Anything to get this experience in a shop, so they can move on. I think this is very viable programs. You have Laney, you have Chabot, you have many programs in the area. Each one has its own unique set of things they specialize, but together they can pretty much handle all of the jobs, everything available in these 9 counties. And finishing off on that, I'll hand it to Dick, and he could talk a little bit more, on students and moving in. But it's a very viable business to be in, and I recommend a lot of people take this way. Thanks.
So I'm not going to talk, and I know you're happy about that. What I am going to do is introduce Laura Guillon and Lee Karstensen, and they are recent Petaluma High participants in a program many of you know called Skills USA. But I asked them, and they were both gracious enough to get up at dark 30 and come out here and talk to us. And so we are fortunate to hear their perspectives. So I asked them to tell us, how'd you get started? you know, how did you get to the point where you're recognized in front of a group of people and you've got these red jackets, and it's quite a story, and each has their own individual take on that. So actually, let me ask you to stand up, and I'd like the group to just give a round of applause. If you didn't know, they recently competed in the Nationals, and I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'm going to let you tell that story. But maybe start us off. How'd you get started in this journey?
Hi, everybody. My name's Laura, and I'm a current high school student at Montgomery High School. I'm a junior. I used to be at Petaluma High School, but I'm now in the IB diploma program. But for the last 2 years, I took the course technical drafting, and I was exposed to Skills USA my freshman year. And what attracted me to the concept of manufacturing and technology was the mixture of math and art, you know, two things that seem completely unrelated, but combined into this one mesh of design, technology, drafting. And so that's what originally led me to the class drafting. And if it wasn't for the back to school nights or elective information nights that the high school offered, and even went to the junior highs to advocate, I wouldn't have known anything about drafting. I would have missed out on this tremendous experience to travel the country and to compete in something that I'm learning constantly in class today. I competed in introductory to drafting my first year as a Skills USA member, and I competed in technical drafting my second year. And Lee and I both went to nationals, competing in different competitions. I'll let him explain his.
Hello, I'm Lee. I graduated Petaluma High last year. All the way through Petaluma High, I took metal shop every year. And junior, senior year, I took drafting. And the way that I got involved in it is I was walking through to go to wood shop because I wanted to take wood shop because I got into skateboarding and building ramps. So I thought it'd be pretty cool, and I saw the big machines, and I was like, wow, this looks really cool in here. And then I just started taking that class, and my second year, Mr. Sunya, he told me that I could do good in skills, and I didn't know what it was because nobody really did. And so I started doing that, and won gold that year for just lathe. And next year I did mill, started doing more mill, and I could go to nationals with that one. I went to nationals that year, and didn't do that great at nationals, but it was fun for the experience. And then my senior year I went back again, and I did a lot better that time. I think I got like 18th or something out of everybody. So, yeah.
So now the real question you must be wondering is, what impact do organizations like Skills USA have on students and their industrial education? Well, for one thing, Skills USA is a partnership of students, teachers, and industry representatives that come together to make sure we prepare the workforce of tomorrow. Our motto is preparing for leadership in the workforce. And we see the active role of industry. It's very prominent, especially when you get to the state level competitions where we see all these industries supporting the competitions. You see many sponsors, and I believe these competitions wouldn't be possible without the support of our community. Just to get to nationals, we had to fundraise money, and we went around talking to our industries and getting involved with the communities around us. And one company, Cyan Networks in Petaluma, they were so generous. We came and talked to them. We gave them a PowerPoint presentation of what we believed we would work to getting at nationals. They sat down with us, and they slid us a check for $5,000. $5,000. Now that's generous. That's really generous. And I'm sure even the small donations of any industry really helps education and students in the long run. And so for me, at nationals, I competed in automated manufacturing technology, which is a 3-person team where you work as me, the technical drafter, then we have the master cam pathway, and then we have the person working the machine. And it's hard. It's an 8-hour-long competition. You make a 5-part assembly, and you work with industry representatives to make sure your tolerances are right, you have the right materials, you write down your portfolio and the orthographic projections the right way. And we placed 8th in the nation. So my bottom line is, the importance of such organizations like Skills USA is that it not only allows students to apply those skills that they learn in the classroom every day to the world around them, it opens up a brand new opportunity of careers that they might not even have noticed like were there. Many competitions in Skills USA range from aviation maintenance technology to cosmetology to healthcare to firefighting, to technical drafting, computer animation, and there's even leadership skills. We don't just want skilled workers. We want skilled workers who are willing to take leadership roles once they get into the workforce. I competed in job interview last year, and I received silver at the state level. Sadly, I lost to an Asian. I'm half Asian, so that's bad. But Skills USA it's been a big part of our lives, and basically we're trying to spread the word. There's a thing with the National Skills USA organization. It's a thing called Vision 2020, and what their vision by 2020 is to have 1 million students influenced every year. Currently, we have about 330,000 members a year. And at the national competition, there are about 14,000 individuals who compete. And basically, it's just like Catherine was mentioning, the importance of such organizations, and Lance, how technical skills are being diminished in importance. I mean, I'm taking a film class at school in this room, and on the door it says drafting room. But there aren't any drafting classes at our school. What happened? Where did those classes go? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So we definitely want to have some questions here. So open it up for questions for the students or the other panelists. Yes. This mic or this mic?
This is fine. Several of the points that have been made today, I'd just like to reiterate and then give you a couple of other pieces of information that might be helpful in carrying out this mission that you all are talking about today. The first is the importance of the misconceptions about manufacturing, particularly the issue that John showed, that manufacturing is the 8th largest economy in the world, U.S. manufacturing, if it were standalone. It is not dying, it's huge. And the productivity is a large component of why the number of folks are less, but you saw in agriculture it's far less, and that's a result of increased productivity. The other point that's been mentioned several times today is the importance of partnership, of industry, academia, students, government being involved together in this process. And for those of you that are in industry, if you don't have a one-to-one personal relationship with somebody in a community college, a school like Laney, get one. They're just incredibly powerful relationships. And the same for all of you that are in schools. Make sure that you're connected with industry. I mean, our speaker talked about getting a check, to help support their program. Those kinds of things, if you build relationships, will come. The other point that John also made was there are 600,000 open manufacturing jobs that are open because employers cannot find the talent they need. They cannot find the skilled employees, and it's programs like this that help develop that skill set that's needed. Our Society of Manufacturing Engineers just published and opened at the IMTS show a paper called Workforce Imperative. It's on the SME website. It's a distillation of about 4 years of work and a couple of 100-page report down to 20 readable pages at sme.org/workforce imperative that will fill in some of the blanks of things that are needed and suggestions of how you might be actively engaged in moving forward the image of manufacturing in the U.S. and the enactment. Okay, and just one other point. And there's another article on the SME site in the July 2011 edition of Manufacturing Engineering Magazine under SME Speaks, and it's an article called Polishing Hephaestus' Tarnished Image. If you think the issue of image of manufacturing is new, being negative, it goes back 5,000 years to the Greek god Hephaestus, who everybody disliked but loved his work, all right? And that article was written by a student of Laney College named Michelle Bennett, who also happens to be my daughter. So,
Thank you very much. So questions, other questions for the students or the other panelists? Oh, yes, right back here. So what can companies do? Let me give it to Lance and then to Dick. I know obviously has a lot on this as well.
Well, large companies, if they got in the ball game, would probably turn this around pretty quick. That hasn't happened yet. I don't know the reasons. Maybe Dick can talk to that some. But I can say from a perspective of smaller businesses and people in this room, there's lots of ways. And one I recommended was join your Chamber of Commerce and start pushing the dialogue, because they have a lot of influence. Another thing that would take a little time, but it all takes time, is show up at a local school board meeting, because the school boards are filled with people who have no clue about what's going on here. And all they see is A through G. It's all about getting kids to college, and they don't have that understanding that we do. It's like, you can do this and go to college. They just don't see that. In fact, LA Unified just fired all of their shop teachers just recently. They became an A through G district. They have no more shops. They just closed them all down just recently. That's where we're at. Each letter represents a college prep idea, concept. I don't have that with me.
A through G basically says you have to take so many years of history, so many years of math, so many years of science, so many years of arts, and things like that. So it's a requirement. They're making it a requirement to graduate above and beyond the normal California graduation requirements. So it's kind of squeezing out kind of CTE courses in a way. So I'll leave it out. There's more detailed on that, but for time's sake.
Very, very, very quickly. I live in Petaluma, up in the North Bay, Petaluma, Sonoma County, and I will tell you, everybody from the school board and the school superintendents and the county, now the county superintendents, they get it. And the reason they get it is because we've been diligent about getting them in front of the press. Let me spell this word for you, P-R-E-S-S, okay? There isn't a newspaper or a radio station or even the local TV reporter on 5 who happens to live up there who actually knows the talking points. And you know what? You know how the school administration and the schools act? If the press is there, they get it. They get it very quickly. That's something easy every single one of you can do. You're all parents. Most of you are parents. You have kids. You go to these meetings. It's very straightforward. Industry will participate, and size doesn't matter. You know, industry will participate. We had a dinner recently where we were awarding Mr. Asunya, and we were fortunate to have the SME's National Education Foundation board. The county supervisors, it was a private dinner, the county supervisors begged us, I'm serious, they begged us to attend, at least just to be there in the presence of this. So you can do it. It's a grassroots effort.
A couple of points I'd like to make is if you're if in industry, take a look at your local schools. Get connected. That's been, I feel, the root of my success at Petaluma High School, is that we are working with local industry. They are working with us. We are working with them. Huge connection. You'll get donated tools, equipment, dollars, as Laura talked about. So that's huge. The other thing about the A through G system is, this very much disturbs me, that when I looked at that, I find out that the UC system considers my program, my manufacturing technology program, not rigorous or relevant enough. Okay, and that really is disturbing. I can tell you that well, we're applied academics across the board, and I think the new California Common Core, if you haven't taken a look at that, is pushing us in that direction. So there is a positive note there. So anyway.
One last question. Chuck, you had a question back here? Thank you, Chuck. And let's thank our panelists very much. Thank you. Good job. I think that's what we want. I think Chuck, said it well. I think we want to show you the opportunities. The morning session about what's happening with manufacturing. The U.S. is still manufacturing things. That we have a lot of opportunities in the future. And then also, though, that at the same time, we need to make sure our young kids know about it, our students know about it, families know about it, parents, so that we can get people interested in these career pathways, which are good career pathways, which are careers. They're not jobs. They are careers, which allow you to buy a home, and have a good life. So we want to encourage you, and I think talk to these people more about how you can get involved in ways you can make a difference in changing what kind of local school boards are doing, what local schools are doing. Okay, so yeah.
Well, the politicians, he puts a lot of time into this, and I just definitely want to thank him for putting this on, and it's a great event, and it's took a whole different direction like it should every year as far as talking about new things, and I want to thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, definitely Lewis is the man behind this program here at Laney and Machine Tech. I wanted to show you, we have lunch, but also give you a quick time. So lunch is right out here. Go out the door and you'll see it kind of down as you go into the amphitheater. We want to start the first sessions at 1 o'clock, and we have 3 different sessions. A hybrid learning model, which is by Tooling U and Haas Immersive. We'll talk about kind of online models that can help train students. You can learn a little bit about that. Where the locations are on this sheet, this agenda sheet, which are in the back, and there's a map on the back. The stackable credentials for manufacturing will be taught by Catherine Ross and talking about the NIM certification, so it would be great to go to that. And then preparing the underprepared student, put on by Career Ladders Projects, about how contextualization and how you can bring the kind of hands-on type activities into basic skills to help your students succeed. So with that, we have barbecue out there down in the amphitheater, and we have one last thing from Lewis.
So I just want to remind people, if they have a chance to take a look at the shop during lunch or again at 4:30, we have some demonstrations in there. And one thing that is a little bit different about our shop than maybe Deanza's, industrial maintenance is a big part of our program. Not all of our students are running CNC machines, but they are supporting advanced manufacturing, and they're supporting infrastructure. Places like East Bay Mud, San Francisco Water, Union Sanitary District, the water you drink, keeping you healthy, and so that's a really important part of what we do too. But take a look at the shop, and so far, thank you very much for attending, and see you in the afternoon workshops.
Thanks, okay. Please feel free to go, and the shop location is on your map as well, so grab some food, relax. If you want to go to the shop tour, please do that as well.